So part of my Sunday sabbatical, I know people are going to ask, and did you go anywhere? And not really. Not this time, because school is in full force and the kids are in football and dance, and I'm the Uber. They don't tip well. Just saying. But I did do some day trips here and there. I went to the coast. I went for hikes in the woods, and I did some things like that. I did a lot of writing. I did a little bit of reading, a little bit of study. And the main thing was to really just kind of disconnect. To disconnect from the day-to-day so that I can re-immerse myself in spirit. Re-immerse myself, empty the cup, so to speak, so I can be filled up again. And one thing that happened this last week, my mom came to visit. She's on her West Coast tour. She lives now in Irvine with my sister, and they're on a cruise. And so Mom's was with me for a week, and I'll be taking her down to see our cousin Joyce for next week. And it was just a wonderful experience. And I had this idea of having Mom and I on stage, and she could read some poetry, and I can, banter a little bit. That way I didn't really have to write a talk, but she told me how to write a talk. She wasn't quite feeling up to it today. I almost said, Mom, come on, you're only 93. But then she would have pulled the mom card, and then there would have been that whole son, mother, that argument that we all have. No, okay, it's just me arguing with my 93-year-old mother. But what I did bring is a poem from her that she wrote this week. She had been writing, she writes almost every day, pretty much every day. And she sends a lot of her poems to me through text. And she sent me a series of poems that were just 4 lines each, but they were all about living full out. This idea of living full out. And what does that really mean? And then when she got here, she wrote a new one, and so I'd like to read the new one to you. Are you ready? This is Living Full Out by Joyce Riley. Life, it seems, is a balancing act between dreams and so-called facts. So daily I practice doing my part by living and dreaming with the whole of my heart. With no fear and without a doubt, I live and give and love full out. So just take a deep breath and breathe that in. One of the things my mom asked me as she read the litany of poems that she has sent me that I handed to her is she's like, well, they're all the same. And I wonder sometimes, why do I keep writing them? Because I'm always saying the same thing. And what I told her is twofold. The first part of it is because we need to hear it. Because we need to hear it in different ways. Because we need to hear it over and over again. That message that God loves you. That message that God is great. That message that God is the loving principle that flows in through and as each one of us. Source, substance, divine intelligence. Whatever definition you want to give it, I give it different names depending on how I'm referring to that allness of life. We have to hear it because we forget. Because we get caught up in the daily grind. We get caught up in the minutia. We get caught up in the details. Anybody get caught up in the details this week? Yeah. No matter what you're doing, there's always something, even if it's trying to figure out, what am I supposed to do today? We tend to get caught up in the doing, and we forget about the being. We start with the doing, and then that leads us to having something, and then that gives us our definition of being. And that's a typical way of looking at things. That's what Ken Wilber might say is first-tier thinking, right? Thinking from that state of, I'm not enough. I don't have it yet. Second-tier thinking would be going the other direction. We start from beingness. And from that beingness, that knowing that divine essence within us, we recognize what we have in life. That's what brings us and draws to us life. And then from that overflowing abundance, we do. That's second-tier thinking. That's living from your abundance, as Unity might call it. So what I like to do is I read her poems and then I write. I sit down and I go line by line. Life, it seems, is a balancing act between my dreams and so-called facts. So each day, something comes along. Each day there's some circumstances. Each day there's some things happening. Each day there's stuff that's going on that tends to pull us off balance, that tends to drag us in one direction or another. And so life is a balancing act. Life is a process of living consciously, of being aware of when am I being pulled off balance and bringing ourselves back. I am having exactly what I am being in this situation. I am having exactly what I am being in this situation. So whatever you're having, whatever situation, whatever idea, whatever thing that's going on with you, whatever thing that you're seeming to have or not have in life, is exactly in reflection of your being, of your state of consciousness, of your awareness. We took the keys to the kingdom class before I left. You were in that, Joe. Remember what we talked about in that idea of living from your abundance, living as source. Meaning it's not a class about getting stuff. It's about developing that inner resource. And it was wonderful to see how people took that and really applied it and began to unpack it for themselves, because it takes some unpacking. Our culture is built on doing, right? The cultural norm is, so what do you do when you meet somebody? So it's really that idea of coming from that place first of knowing your oneness with God, knowing your oneness with the allness of life. Because life responds to you. The universe and life just responds to you, and it says yes. So I am having exactly as I am being. So if you want something different, be something different. So daily I practice doing my part by living my dream with the whole of my heart. Practice being daily. Practice beingness daily. Now that can show up as strengthening your own weekly Sabbath. Whatever practice you currently have is looking at it from a different perspective. Looking at it not from, oh, I think I'll meditate today, or oh, I think I'll go for a hike, or oh, I think no, this is a non-negotiable. Spirit is putting God first, putting Spirit first, opening your heart. That's a non-negotiable. What would your life be like if you made it non-negotiable? If you started every day by opening your heart? That lovely idea that God is kindness. What if you had that idea of just starting at that point? So strengthen your spiritual practice, your spiritual Sabbath. Take a break from the routine, the striving, the efforting, your fixed beliefs, your crystallized thinkings. Open your heart to Spirit. When I began my sabbatical, I was in that space of, okay, and now what do? I'm not going to the Himalayas. So what do I do on a sabbatical? I know I've got, maybe I'm thinking of this, and maybe I'll do some reading, and I'll write every day. And my wife Tiffany kind of looks at me and says, John, why don't you just do nothing? Huh? That's novel. That's unique. So I started doing nothing. And anybody feel the discomfort of being in the nothing? Have you ever felt that discomfort? Yeah, and what happens when we get into discomfort? We want to run the other way. Well, forget this. I'm going to go weed. I'm supposed to do nothing. Okay, I'm going to go do Xbox. another way of running away, just because it's occupying my thoughts and mind. So at some point I got a little tired. I'm like, okay, let me do a little spiritual work here. Let me look. How can I get? Because I kind of felt stuck. Yes, I've got dreams, I've got goals, I've got these things, but I kind of felt like, all right, what do I do now? So I went, of course, back to Unity and went back to the Lessons in Truth. It's one of my most beloved books by Dr. Emily Cady. It was written, I think, in 1929. It was a series of articles that they published in the Unity magazine back then, Modern Truth, I think it was, once a month, and then they took them together and made a book out of it. And it is it's quintessential unity in metaphysics. It just talks about, the core of what we believe. And I went online to a site that I can search on, and I found, the annotations that went along with that book, because I was feeling lost. Okay, what do you do how do you get unstuck? And so I typed in, how do you get unstuck? And I was directed to this book by Emily Cady, and I started reading it again, and it's just like, oh, duh. Open your heart to Spirit. She talks about this as the secret place of the Most High. The secret place of the Most High, which is within you. The secret place of the Most High, as she puts it, is the point of mystical union between you and Spirit. The place within you where we know God consciously because we feel the presence within us. We actually feel the presence of Spirit within us. And the more we focus on that feeling of Spirit, we begin to realize that there's no separation. If you look at that idea of that secret place in the Most High, that's your true, authentic self. That's that Unity would call the Christ consciousness that's within you, the spark of divinity that's within you, that higher self. I heard one of my colleagues was talking about it. She said, this is your authentic self. That's your authentic self. And it made so much sense because everything else is a persona. I want to show up today kind and compassionate. I want to, be that person. That's a persona that ego says, hey, I want to express these divine qualities. My authentic self is already that. I want to show up today as, the power of will and faith and wisdom so that I'm doing the right things. That's ego saying, okay, individuality saying, okay, here's how I'm going to express God today. As God, here's how I'm going to be as Source, as Spirit. And the truth of who you are, your authentic self, is that divine nature that's already there. And so she gave, the tools of getting back into the secret place of the Most High. It's the turning within. It's what Unity calls affirmative prayer. Go into the room within yourself. Close the door. Close the door to your outer senses. Close the door to your thoughts, to your emotions. They'll bubble up. They'll be there. They'll float by. But don't let them grab you. Just let them be floating by. In meditation, we use a mantra or a focus. In mindful meditation, we might be focusing on our breath. Transcendental meditation, we might be focusing on a mantra. In Unity, you might focus on an affirmation. I am at peace. I am whole. And we do that because it gives the brain, the monkey mind, something to do. You got to give the monkey mind some peanuts. Right? Otherwise, it's going to be doing what other monkeys do. Whatever that is, I don't know. I'm not going to go there. But you have to give that thinking brain something to do so that it can be quiet. So we can learn to slow down until you get to the point of silence. And silence is just being and sitting in that awareness of the allness of life. Feeling the energy well up within you. And if you ever have a question about what is yours to do, just ask. Bring that question into the silence, and you will receive an answer. You may not like it, Ego may be saying, yeah, but I got other things to do. But the answer will come. That's the second lesson for my mom. Why should she continue to write? Because the messages keep coming. Because God keeps speaking. Because she's in tune. So keep writing. So she and I talked about it. We're starting a little company. We're going to create a series of books and study guides and workshops and things. So she and I are, and she in 93, she's quite the taskmaster. So we've been working on that. I've been working on that for about 5 years now. She's actually been writing 5 years worth of poetry. And she's like, you know, have you ever said that to someone? I thought, hello, I'm your mother. Oh, dang it. Living from the secret place of the Most High, without fear and without a doubt. I live, I give, and I love full out. You hold that vision of what you receive in your heart with love. And without a doubt, without questioning it. That's the thinking mind, right? That's the ego. That's the, well, hang on a second, that's our shadow self. Saying, you're not ready for that yet. And that's where the power of faith comes in. Your power of faith is your ability to say, yeah, I don't know how it's going to get done, but I'm going to walk in that direction anyway. I don't have the full roadmap, but I know in my heart that this is the path for me. So I'm going to move in that direction. Faith says, do it. Will, the power of will, one of the 12 powers that the Fillmores came up with, is the action of actually walking the path, of taking that step. So with will and faith, I live and give and love full out. Let's start with love. How can we come to life with more love? I love it how I read a tweet, I think yesterday, His Holiness the Dalai Lama said, you know, basically to be love is to be kind and compassionate. And amazing that the daily word today is kindness. That is an attribute of this divine essence of love. And what Unity and what I want you to know is that we should be, oh, I said should. It's $5 into the facilities. Thank you, Nancy. Into the facilities fund. $5. Now I forgot what I was saying. Love. Love, and starting with yourself. And having self-love. Having self-compassion. Having self-love. Knowing that God loves you. God loves me. Can you say that with me? God loves me. And having that love for yourself. Having that self-compassion so that you treat yourself with kindness. So that you're sourcing your love, your kindness, your happiness from God. You're drawing upon it from God. So that you are filled up and able to give from that perspective. Able to give from the overflowing kindness and compassion that you already have. That's being, having, and doing. Versus not sourcing that inner love, that inner strength, but giving love on the other side, giving kindness and compassion by doing. Because we're sourcing everyone else for kindness and compassion. I'm going to be kind to you, and I expect you to be kind back to me and have compassion for me. And guess what happens when we don't? It's okay. We all know. When we're giving from that place of expecting to receive, when we're giving from that place of, I'll be kind to you, I want to do my best Gollum. We be kind to, I can't do it right now, my mouth is too dry. We be kind to them if they be kind to us. Right? It's giving, expecting something in return. So that I can have, and then I can be happy. And my being happy is based on your giving to me. Versus the other way around, I'm happy because I am one with the infinite flow of life, love, and wisdom. I feel uplifted and filled by the presence of Spirit. And from that overflowing joy, I'm giving to the world. From that overflowing joy, I'm giving kindness and compassion and love to the world. Eckhart Tolle, in his book, A New Earth, wrote, "Whatever you think the world is withholding from you, you are withholding from the world. That which we think we lack, we are not giving to the world. If there's something that you are feeling is lacking in your life, then give from that place. Draw from that inner resource of inner love, divine love, spirit love, however you want to call it. Fill yourself up and give to the world. And the more you give from that experience, the more you will see how much love and kindness and joy is really in the world and in your life. And you will see Spirit moving in and through every person.